College football fans, welcome back to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, the only channel where we examine, discuss, celebrate, and honor all things college football across the entire college football landscape, the only channel that is a gathering spot for all fans of college football, not just fans of the black and gold of Iowa. So if you've been looking for a channel that is for you, a safe zone, a safe haven, a neutral site and ground for you to express yourself and be amongst your college football brothers and sisters, then welcome home. I am your usual host, Blair Parks, and this is a very special episode of the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog because, you know what? Tomorrow is the big day. Yes, it's absolutely Halloween, so happy early Halloween to all of you out there. I hope it's excellent. Be safe, be responsible, but I'm also bubbling over with anticipation because tomorrow is the unveiling of the initial college football playoff rankings for the 2023 season. Can't wait to see it. I'm just bubbling with anticipation. Can't wait for that to happen tomorrow evening. So what I thought I would do today's episode on the eve of those college football rankings being unveiled, I thought I would look into my Mario crystal ball and predict what the top 10 of the college football rankings will look like, or at least what I believe they should look like based on a certain criteria, and I'll get to those here very shortly. But before I say any more, I just want to thank you, all the members of the Touchdown Black and Gold family, for your continued support, for your time, your attention, your comments, your participation. The views are up, the comments are up, the subscriptions and subscribers are also up, but I need your help. Please tell your fellow college football fanatics, fans, brothers, sisters, family members, co-workers to check me out here on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. So I need your help to spread the word. Please, if you like what you see or what you hear, click that subscribe button. And like always, I always ask for and encourage your participation. These episodes are generated and run by you, and I believe when you watch this episode at the conclusion, I think a lot of you, especially fans of certain teams, are going to have a lot to say. So please comment, like, share, subscribe, and I promise I will get back to each and every one of your comments individually much sooner than later. So thank you in advance for your participation and your continued support for the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. All right, so before I go ahead and give you my top 10 based on my criteria, I'm absolutely going to focus a little bit more on the top 6. So the 4 that would be in as of today if it were up to me, and then the first 2 out. But the criteria that I use to formulate my top 10. I mean, I know it's a very, very involved process. That's why there is a committee of experts, at least so-called experts, who convene to do this time of year, once a week, every college football season. But the criteria that I use, I keep it very, very simple, Jack, okay? To where I'm looking not only at records, but also who have you played, who have you beaten, maybe even who you've lost to, but also who have those teams played as well. So strength of schedule is a big part of the criteria that I use when I rank my college football playoff contenders. And then I also do have to go with the old eye test. How do these teams look when they're out there showing up and showing out? And have they been able to do that consistently against Team A, Team B? And I'll tell you right now, as far as strength of schedule, I put a lot of weight into the non-con. That's right, the non-conference section, a portion of a football team's schedule. So I think some of you, as I said, are definitely going to be a little bit disappointed with yours truly. But let me remind you, and I will say this probably at least once, if not twice more during this episode of my initial rankings, is if your team may not be where you think they should be based on my perspective, it's okay. Because more than likely they will have the opportunity and every chance to play themselves into the Final Four, to climb that ladder. They will have the opportunity because a lot of them do face an upcoming gauntlet here at the very end of the regular season and will have every opportunity to rise or fall. So just remember that. That's as of right now. This is not the final rankings. All right? So keep that in mind before you throw some shade or some of you haters are going to hate. Just remember that. But please, whether you agree or disagree, please comment, get involved, let your college football voice be heard, and I can't wait to hear those comments. All right, so let's go ahead and start off with my top 10. So coming in at number 10, barely hanging on, is the Oklahoma Sooners, who are currently 7-1 overall. The quality win or wins that Oklahoma has is that big win over number 7. And when I say rankings, I'm saying that according to right now, because their big quality win was against current number 7 Texas, but I believe they were number 3 in the nation at the time. But I'm going off what they are right now via the AP poll, which as of tomorrow is not really going to matter anymore. But Oklahoma's quality win is over number 7 Texas at a neutral site in the Cotton Bowl during this year's edition of the Red River rivalry game, which happened 2 or 3 weeks ago. That is Oklahoma's only quality win that I see. And that's the only ranked opponent that they've played this season up to this point. Now, when you look at their non-conference, really was a cakewalk. Their hardest game for Oklahoma was SMU out of the American Athletic, soon to be in the ACC. Figure that one out. And SMU currently is 6-2, so they're having a good season, but that is hands down Oklahoma's strongest non-conference victory, and they really didn't play anyone, and they didn't, other than SMU. So that is their best non-con win, but over the weekend, this just transpired. They lost at now ranked number 22 Kansas in Lawrence. So after that big win against Texas, Oklahoma definitely had the inside track to get back to Arlington to play in the Big 12 championship game. Everything was ahead of them, but with this stumble at Kansas over the weekend, definitely are going to need a little bit of help. So they're number 10. Number 9, I've got the Ole Miss Rebels from the SEC. Currently, Ole Miss is 7-1. Now, their quality wins, they have 2 that I've identified. They have wins over number 13 LSU, which happened at home in Oxford, and they also won at number 21 Tulane, kind of the darling of the group of 5. Even they are ranked, obviously. That's their only loss of the year is Tulane's to Ole Miss at home. And it was a very, very hard-fought game. For 3 quarters, it looked like Ole Miss was not going to win that game. So it is a big victory, especially on the road. So they do have 2 quality wins, does Ole Miss. And this is a team to me that really I think is flying under a lot of people's radar. I absolutely expect them to be in the initial top 10 tomorrow night because their resume is strong. Now, their best non-con victories, already said, was Tulane, but they also have a solid victory over Georgia Tech, who's currently 4-4, and they're definitely playing better football as of late. 3 weeks ago, they went to Miami and knocked off the Hurricanes in Don't Take a Knee Gate. And then over this past weekend, they knocked off ranked North Carolina in Atlanta. So this team is definitely playing a little bit better. Now, Ole Miss's only loss was at number 8 Alabama there in Tuscaloosa, so not a bad loss at all. And this team still has a legit chance to win the SEC West. So I love what Ole Miss brings to the table, a team that I think a lot of people are just kind of sleeping on. All right. Number 8, I've got the aforementioned team that beat Ole Miss. I've got at number 8, Alabama, currently record of 7-1 from the SEC. Quality wins, they do have 2 of them. They did beat number 11 Ole Miss at home and also took care of number 19 Tennessee down in Tuscaloosa. So they definitely have some good conference wins. And they don't necessarily have a non-conference victory that they can hang their hat on. The big one, obviously, was that game, week 2, they hosted Texas, and Texas came into Tuscaloosa and dispatched the Crimson Tide. And I believe they've played Mercer and USF, South Florida, so really of not doing themselves any favors in the non-conference. Now, they tried, I give them that. They scheduled a upper echelon opponent in Texas, but without that non-conference victory, definitely I think is going to hurt Alabama, and it should. Now, their only loss, like I said, was at home to current number 7, the Texas Longhorns. So not a bad loss, but it did come at home, but at least it came early in the season. And just like Ole Miss, Alabama definitely has every chance to win the SEC West. So it's really going to come down to the wire here between Ole Miss, Alabama, and also LSU is still in that race. So number 7, the aforementioned team that defeated Alabama. See, this is the thing. I can't by any way put Alabama ahead of Texas. All right, now I'll explain myself because some of you are thinking, hey, hold on a second here. So number 7, I have Texas, currently 7-1. Quality wins, they have 2 of them. They travel to number 8, Alabama, which is probably one of, if not the best non-conference victory of the season. And then also they took care of number 22, Kansas in Austin. Now their loss, yes, they lost to number 10, Oklahoma, head-to-head. And I already told you, on my list, I have Oklahoma at 10, but this is why I looked at these two teams. Head-to-head, yes, Oklahoma defeated Texas, but it was at a neutral site. If Oklahoma would have went to Austin and defeated the Longhorns, absolutely, I would have them ahead of Texas. But when it comes down to it, that being a neutral site victory, coupled with Oklahoma not having a non-conference victory to hang their hat on or to say, here, we're on solid ground, they don't compare to Texas. And Texas has, they've faced better competition overall with those 2 wins over ranked teams compared to Oklahoma's 1. So that's why I give the nod to Texas over Oklahoma. And like I said, I can't put them behind Alabama, just like I can't put Ole Miss ahead of Alabama, even though they met head-to-head. So that's my number 10 through 7 at this point. Let me know what you think. If you're a fan of those teams, let me know, do you agree or disagree and why? Please, I look forward to your comments, but let's just keep them adult-like. We all know how to act properly. We were all taught that as children. So let me know. Do you think that your team should be a little bit higher, a little bit lower? What do you think about my analysis and my insight? Please let me know. Can't wait to hear from you. So let's get to what everybody wants to know. As we ponder, as we think, and as we, look into all of the information that we have as far as what is the top 6 going to be tomorrow and what should it be and what is it going to be. We're all thinking about this. We're pondering, like I said, we're trying to figure it out, crunching numbers, crunching schedules, comparing, contrasting. But let's go ahead and get to it. So number 6, my second team out, and this is where I think I'm going to get a lot of pushback here, and I am ready for it, but just hear me out. Once again, AP polls, I refer to them during my top 10 right now for current rankings, just to kind of compare, contrast resumes. But at number 6, even though they are ranked number 1 in the AP poll, I've got the Georgia Bulldogs, my second team out. I'm already hearing a lot of you SEC folks and Georgia fans saying, how could he? What a Big Ten homer. I am not a Homer Simpson. Hear me out. Georgia is 8-0, all right? They have no quality wins over ranked opponents. They do not. They have not been challenged at all this season, okay? And yes, I'm going to use that same criteria against another team here shortly, just so you know I'm not picking on you or singling you out. They do not have a quality win at all. They struggled in a couple games. They were down at halftime at home against South Carolina. They did come back in the second half and win. And South Carolina is currently 2-6 overall. And they also trailed late down on the plains at Auburn. They were able to secure victory late. And Auburn currently sits 4-4. Now, good wins for Georgia, but not great wins. They defeated both Kentucky and their arch rival, Florida, over the weekend, and really dismantled Florida, by the way. But both of those teams are 5-3. And quite frankly, Florida is just not very good. And we're going to see that down the stretch here. They still have to play at Missouri, I think LSU, and then play Florida State. Yeah, they're going to end up going 6-6. They're just not good, okay? And Kentucky, I think, is also fool's gold. I mean, they're a solid team, but they're not the Kentucky teams of the last few seasons under Coach Stoops. So good wins, but they don't really have a great win. They haven't played the upper echelon from the SEC West. No Alabama, no LSU. They will play Ole Miss in 2 weeks, so they will be challenged. And that's why, Georgia fans, you will have every opportunity to rise up. They have an absolute gauntlet remaining. They host Missouri, who's highly ranked, I believe number 13 or 14. Then they host number 11 Ole Miss. Then they have to go on the road to Rocky Top, number 19 Tennessee. And then I believe they host their in-state rival, Georgia Tech, who, as I mentioned, is playing better football. So Georgia, I just can't reward you because you're ranked number 1 in the AP poll. You haven't been challenged. Yes, you've dispatched of Vanderbilt and Florida, all right, and Kentucky. But come on, Ball State, UT Martin. There's no need for a number 1 team in the nation to play an FCS school, all right? You gain more by just having an inter-squad scrimmage, okay? And also, I think a lot of people say, well, they have to be, because of their win streak. They're the defending back-to-back 2-time national champions. I get that. Much love and respect, but that has nothing to do with this season. Nothing. And any Georgia fan, if you really can look me in the eye and say they're the best team in the nation, then I really can't help you. You're living in a glass house, and you're the Homer Simpson. That's simple. So at number 6, I got Georgia. Number 5, the first team out of the Pac-12, which, sorry, it's facts are facts. Quacks and facts are facts. The deepest, best conference, I've got Oregon, currently 7-1 overall. A quality win over this past weekend. Absolutely went to number 18 Utah up in Salt Lake City and dismantled the Utes. Beat them playing Utah football. I mean, the exact same type of football that Coach Kyle Whittingham and the Utes have had. And Oregon flipped the tables on them and really just cruised to victory, all right? And their non-con win, it's not a bad win, but they did win at Texas Tech. Yes, not a great Big 12 team, but still, you go on the road to a fellow Power 5 team. You don't play an FCS school, which they did. And they did, I think, put up an 81 burger on Portland State. But still, you go on the road to a fellow Power 5 school and get a victory. That means more than what some other schools have done in non-conference. And their only loss was a 3-point loss on the road against number 5 Washington in Seattle. One of, if not the best game of the year so far to date. I mean, Oregon left a lot of points on the field. They had opportunities. I never say this team should have won because that's unfair, but they absolutely could have won that game. And down the stretch, they faced some very good competition. I think, and watching them ever since that loss against Washington, which a lot of teams could be deflated, this team has only gotten more traction. They're looking better and better since that loss. So those are my first 2 teams out, Georgia number 6, Oregon number 5. So now let's move on to my college football playoff field as far as where I would rank these teams with the initial rankings. Please get involved, like, share, comment, subscribe. Can't wait to hear from you. So number 4 and number 3, I really kind of went back and forth on these two. I really had to ponder, self-reflect, and look inward on this. But number 4, I've got out of the Big Ten, the Michigan Wolverines. Currently AP poll ranked number 2. They're 8-0 overall. And like Georgia, they really don't have any quality wins against ranked opponents. I don't think they've even played a ranked opponent all season, all right? And I think Georgia did when they hosted Kentucky in one. I've already said, they were a fraud. So Michigan has played absolutely nobody. Their best non-conference victory, not a bad one. It's kind of a surprising solid victory against UNLV, who is currently 6-2, and they're in the race for the Mountain West championship game. And the Mountain West is the best, deepest group of 5 conference this year. It just is. So it's not a bad win, but it's not a great win either. I mean, their best win to date, probably against 6-2 Rutgers. And this is a much better Rutgers team. This is not the Rutgers of old, of 5-10 years ago. They're a decent ball club. They could beat a lot of teams in the lower half of their conferences. They could. They're solid, but not a great team. But hands down, they've been the most dominant team from day one. They're giving up, 6 points a game? That I know right now we have Spygate going on. There's a lot of juicy details coming out of Ann Arbor. I don't know the extent of that. We're just going to have to wait and see. But still, giving up 6 points a game, they are absolutely bludgeoning people. They've looked the most impressive, and I believe they are the deepest team in college football. I mean, they have 2 offensive lines that could be starting. I mean, they are locked and loaded at numerous positions, other than quarterback. That's the only issue I have. If J.J. McCarthy finds himself hurt, could be a challenge there for the Maize and Blue. But I've got Michigan looking dominant, but to prove to you that I'm fair, I cannot have them in the top 2 because they haven't played anybody. But I don't have them off my top 4 because they haven't struggled with anybody. And some other teams have struggled at times. So number 3, and once again, I could have easily switched these two between 3 and 4, but I've got the Washington Huskies out of the loaded Pac-12, number 3, currently 8-0. Quality win against the aforementioned number 6 Oregon Ducks via the AP poll. And they do have a solid non-conference win. They went to East Lansing to take on Michigan State. I know it's a season to forget for Michigan State and the fans, but still, you go to a fellow Power 5 team on the road, that has to earn you some points compared to staying at home and playing FCS teams and lower level Mountain West and MAC teams, all right? It doesn't do you any good, all right? And also, they did beat Boise State in non-conference as well. Now, the last 2 weeks, Washington has been tested and they have struggled. 2 weeks ago, they defeated Arizona State, I think, by 5 points at home. They're currently 2-6. And over this past weekend, struggled to dispatch Stanford, who's also currently 2-6. I mean, they were down late into the game. They did not look good in victory. So it came down to, who do I put number 3? Michigan, who hasn't struggled but hasn't played anybody, or Washington, who has struggled but they've played better competition. So that's why I decided to roll with Washington at 3 because of that big win, and they have played much better competition. I've been saying this for weeks. Washington, I believe, from an offensive perspective, with Michael Penix Jr. at quarterback, absolutely the most dangerous team in the nation when they're right. So number 2, welcome to the party out of the ACC. I've got Florida State, currently 8-0 on the season. I mean, quality win opening week against number 13 LSU at a neutral site in Orlando, which I guess that's a neutral site, playing in Orlando. But a big win over the Tigers for the Seminoles there in Renegade. And they do have good wins. On the road at Clemson, which I know this is not the usual Clemson squad. They lost their 4th game of the year over the weekend, which is very un-Clemson-like, but also took care of a very, very good Duke team a couple weeks ago. So they have good wins, all right? Now, they did struggle week 3 at Boston College up in Chestnut Hill. They were able to escape with a 2-point victory. Boston College currently sits 5-3, but that has been the only struggle for Florida State. To me, they are the most talented, experienced team. I mean, all of the starters they had coming back, they're showing up and showing out and proving that they belong, but they're just not as deep as Michigan is at certain units, offensive, defense, special teams, at certain positions, just don't have the depth of Michigan, but they are the most experienced, maybe talented team, especially adding wide receiver transfer Keon Coleman from Michigan State. I'm sure the Spartans would love to have him back. I mean, he's dynamic. I mean, getting it done week in and week out. So Florida State, 8-0, and quite frankly, I'm telling you right now, they're not going to lose. They're going to win out. They're going to get in the college football playoff. So number 1, the only team left, and I know a lot of you may not like this either, so I'm prepared to hear the comments, but number 1, from the Big Ten, I've got Ohio State, currently 8-0, quality wins. Now, this is why I've got them number 1. Quality wins, they won at number 12 Notre Dame in South Bend, walk-off fashion, and they defeated number 9 Penn State 2 weeks ago. And they have a good win at Wisconsin. That happened over the weekend. Now, yes, this is not the normal Wisconsin either from the Big Ten West, but we all know, if you're a Big Ten fan or a college football fans, you know that is one of the most ruckus, hostile environments, especially for a night game. And that was a big-time letdown and trap game potential setting for Ohio State coming off of that big win against Penn State. But it did not happen. They were tested by Wisconsin, but were able to get out of Madtown with a victory. So this is why I have them number 1. It's something that is, if someone's going to basically want to debate this with me, I absolutely want it. But Ohio State has the best resume in college football. They just do. With those victories, I know they haven't looked like the best team, and this is not the Ohio State offense of the last few seasons with C.J. Stroud being in there, right, or Justin Fields. Their offense looks to be a little bit middle of the road, but still, they have the best resume in college football. They do. And until somebody defeats them, or they just don't, if they keep sliding offensively, they deserve to be number 1 as of right now. All right? So that's my top 10, guys. Let me know what you think. Agree, disagree, why? Please ask questions. If you think a team is too high or too low, did I leave somebody out that you think deserves to be in the top 10? I can't wait to hear from you. Like I said, this was a tough process, but I think I did a good job subjectively. So let me know what you think. I will be back this Thursday for my Week 10 picks episode. I can't believe it's already Week 10. It's very depressing how quickly this season's going. But until then, guys, thank you for your time, your attention, your support. Can't wait to see you then. Take care. Happy Halloween again. Thanks for joining me on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. See ya.